More power, more energy, more Europe. Yeah, this and more is our new storage solution, the Fronius Reserva Pro. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our today's launch webinar about the new storage solution, about our European storage solution, the Fronius Reserva Pro. I welcome you dearly to our today's launch webinar. My name is Michael Raunig, and together with my colleague Anthony Moises, we will do this webinar for you today. So what do we have on the agenda? First of all, I am happy to announce you our new product, our new storage solution, the Fronius Reserva Pro. So we will go into detail about the positioning, about what the new storage can do, about the key features, of course, the technical data and the functionality. And in the second part, we will also go briefly about the installation and commissioning process. I want to show you here the newest features that we have come up with this solution. And of course, last but not least, we will do a question and answer part. So as always, within our webinars, please feel free to use our chat functionality. Tony is there to answer your questions directly in the live chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in our chat. Start up with the product highlights of our new product. So as you see, we have now a new modular product. It is the Fronius Reserva Pro. It consists of multiple modules that you can install. And together with our battery management unit, again, it gives us one tower. That means that for the Fronius Reserva Pro, as with our existing product with the Reserva, you will have full Fronius support and feedback. So that means whenever you have a problem, you can contact us as Fronius with full support and tech support. Again, we have laid and detailed on easy commissioning. So that means, again, with the SolarStart app, as you are used to with all the other Fronius products, you can also commission the Fronius Reserva Pro. So this is not a hassle. You can very easily make the commissioning of the system. Furthermore, again, we have an IP protection class of 65 and a temperature range going from -20 to +50 degrees Celsius. So again, as you are used to from the Fronius Reserva, we again have a very broad temperature range for outside installation as well. Up then, we have the possibility to have a modular scale system. So that maximum of 8 modules, meaning a usable capacity for the end customer starting with 12 kilowatt hours of usable capacity with the 3 modules and the maximum of 32 kilowatt hours with 8 modules. That meaning, of course, you can do the parallel connection of multiple towers. In this case, again, you can parallel connect up to 4 towers. And this means an overall maximum capacity of 128 kilowatt hours usable capacity. So as you see, of course, this was a big market feedback that we got from Reserva. People wanted to install bigger systems, like, for example, multifamily houses or, for example, farmlands. They want to have achieve a bigger capacity. And now with the Reserva Pro, you can achieve up to 128 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. Furthermore, and this is what we are very proud of, we have now achieved a battery system made in Europe. Yes, you have heard that correctly. The Fronius Reserva Pro cell and module manufacturing takes place in Europe. And we, as you can imagine, are very proud of this since we are a European manufacturer. All our products like inverter, stuff like that comes from Europe, comes from Austria. And now with the Reserva Pro, we also have a made in Europe battery system. Talking about this, we have a 10 years of warranty for 80% state of health. So that means, again, we have a very broad range for the warranty of the battery system. Let's take into account our existing product, our Fronius Reserva. Maybe you have already installed the Reserva product. So as you remember, this ranges from 6.3 up to 15.8 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. And as you see, the Reserva Pro now takes into place for the bigger systems where you need more capacity, so nearly doubling up the capacity of the Reserva, starting from 12 to 32 kilowatt hours. Second thing, of course, whenever you have installed our Fronius Verto, you will come over the fact that we have a very high battery charging and discharging amperage. So that means that the Verto Plus can do up to 50 amps of battery charging. And of course, this is a high potential that we want to use, especially for backup power application, for loads where we have very high peak loads. And with that, we have a maximum charging and discharging power with the Gen 24 Plus with the Reserva Pro of up to 12.5 kilowatts, so nearly the maximum of the Gen 24. And especially with the Verto Plus, and this is a very nice feature, we have up to 28.3 kilowatts of charging and discharging power. And there you can see, especially for farming application, for multifamily houses, everywhere where you need a high peak load, you can now cover this combination of Reserva Pro together with the Verto Plus, and you will get a very nice charging and discharging rate of nearly 30 kilowatt of power. Second thing that is very important for us, again, the Reserva Pro, it matches perfectly our one-stop shop system. So that means that all the components that you, for a modern day PV system, you need, you will get from one manufacturer. So in this case, we are the tier 1 manufacturer. We are delivering you the inverter. We are delivering you the mobility solution with our Fronius Watt Pilot, also the hot water solution with the Fronius Ohm Pilot. And of course, we deliver you the backup power functionality. And now also again, with our battery system, you will get all the components out of one hand. So our sector integration approach is again fulfilled. So that means that all the products that you need, you will get from Fronius. Let's talk a little bit about the technical data of the battery system. So as you can see, the Reserva Pro is a little bit bigger than the existing Reserva, meaning that the depth and height of the system is 44 centimeters multiplied 57 centimeters. So that means that although it is a bigger battery, it is still a compact sized tower. With the height, of course, this varies depending on how many modules you are installing. So that means the smallest system with only 3 modules is 76 centimeters high. And the biggest system, with the 32 kilowatt hours usable capacity, is only 1 meter 57 high. So that means that even with the biggest system, it is nearly 160 in height. So that means even for smaller technical rooms, for basement rooms, this should never be a problem to install the system. Again, like with our Fronius Reserva, we have a real high voltage battery. So we don't have any DC-DC converter inside the battery. This is a real high voltage system that we can directly couple with our inverter lineup. Meaning, of course, minimal conversion losses. Since we can directly drive DC power coming from the roof inside the battery system, we have very high conversion rates. As always, we are using lithium iron phosphate technology in our cell chemistry, and this means for a maximum safety and maximum service life. As you may know, lithium iron phosphate technologies have 2 big advantages in their cell chemistries, that meaning that we have a very long service life with them. So LFP technology is one of the long-lived technologies out there on the market, meaning that we get a very, very long life of the battery system. And on the other hand side, LFP technology delivers a maximum grade of safety. These cells are so-called intrinsic safe. This is also defined by an ISO norm, meaning that the battery cells can't catch fire. So depending on overcharging, for example, and also mechanical damage, we have a very high grade safety system. And of course, this comes into play when you're talking with the end customer, for example, installing a battery system in the basement, in the garage, or wherever, where the end customer maybe have doubts about it. With the LFP technology, with this battery management system, you have the assurance that you have a system with maximum safety and maximum lifetime. Furthermore, we also support all the different backup power solutions that you will get with Gen 24 Plus and Verto Plus. So whenever your customer wants to achieve backup power systems, he can do so again with the Reserva Pro. This is not a problem. All the different variants like the backup controller, the backup switch, and even, of course, the PV point in the Gen 24 Plus series, you can achieve with our Reserva Pro. Talking about the module and system data, in detail, that means that we get a nominal voltage per module of 70.8 volts. and the usable capacity per module of 3.9 kilowatt hours. So that means that you get nearly 4 kilowatt hours per module, and the number of modules then decides the maximum capacity of the system. The weight of the system is 35 kilograms. That means that you can theoretically lift one module your own. However, we recommend you to use 2 people to install the modules, just because it is easier to lift the modules and place them over each other. Number of modules then gives you the maximum nominal voltage of the system. So that means that with the 3 modules, with the smallest systems, we are starting with 212 volts of overall system voltage. And the biggest system with 8 modules, that gives you a maximum voltage of 566. And as you see, especially with the Gen 24 series, where the voltage is more depending for the overall power, that means that even with the biggest Reserva Pro, with the 566 volts, we are getting a very nice voltage and therefore the nice charging and discharging power. Talking about charging and discharging powers, I want to show you here the overall charging and discharging power rates. So here we go on the left-hand side with our Fronius Reserva Pro, starting with the smallest system up to the biggest system. And as you can see here now, we have 2 different approaches. We have on one hand side the Primo Gen 24 Plus and the Simo Gen 24 Plus. As you can see, for the Simo Gen 24 Plus, all the different variants are compatible. So there you don't need to have a thought about it. Same goes, of course, for the Verto Plus. So also for the Verto Plus, all the different battery variants are compatible. However, please take notice whenever you're installing a Primo Gen 24 Plus, so that means the single-phase hybrid inverter, only the 3 until 5 module variants are possible, so 12 kilowatt hours until 20 kilowatt hours. Unfortunately, because of the system voltage, the bigger systems, 6, 7, 8 modules, are not compatible with the single-phase solution. Talking about charging and discharging rates, as you can see on the right-hand side, especially for the Verto Plus, we will gain very nice charging and discharging rates. So talking about, for example, over the bigger systems, for the 8 module variant, we will get around 28.3 kilowatts of charging discharging powers. And this, of course, will get smaller the smaller modules you're taking. So that means the smaller the voltage, the smaller the charging discharging rate. For the smallest system with Verto Plus, this means still a charging capacity of 10 kilowatts of power. So this is still a very nice feature set. However, when you want to gain maximum power, of course, please make sure to take one of the bigger batteries, since then the voltage is higher, and multiply it with the current of the inverter, you will get these charging powers. Even with the Gen 24 Plus series, in the higher power classes, so 7 and 8 modules, you will gain around 10 kilowatts, and in the maximum power stage, 12.5 kilowatts of charging discharging power. So as you can see, Reserva Pro is all about high capacity, high power needs. Whenever you have high power needs and high capacity needs, Reserva Pro is the system for you. Talking about the Primo Gen 24 Plus in detail, since this can be very interesting for single-phase markets, with the Primo Gen 24 Plus series, we have a maximum battery voltage of 455 volts. So that means that that is our top level for the battery voltage, meaning that we get 2 compatible variants with the Reserva system. So with the existing battery system, we have the variant with 2 and 3 modules available. So that means from 6.3 until 9.5 kilowatt hours. However, the bigger systems with Reserva Pro are not compatible. For the Reserva Pro, this looks similar, but on a higher power and capacity rate. That means that we can start with 12 kilowatt hours until 20 kilowatt hours compatible. And the maximum charging and discharging rates ranges from 4 kilowatt hours to 7.8 kilowatt hours in the maximum. This is true for the Primo Gen 24 10 Plus. Whenever you need more capacity, you can do that by our parallel connection. And of course, again, like with the Reserva, we have laid many thoughts about this parallel connection, since we know that for bigger systems especially, this parallel connection is very vital. So with the Reserva Pro, again, like with the Reserva, you can connect up to 4 identical towers to each other. Please notice, however, whenever doing the parallel connection of multiple towers, you need to have the same height of the systems. So always only combine the same number of modules, don't mix them. And then you can install, for example, 2 towers, 3 towers, or even up to 4 towers to each other, depending on your capacity needs. So that means that with, for example, 2 towers in parallel, you can achieve up to 64 kilowatt hours. With the 3 tower variant, 96 kilowatt, and with the 4 tower variant, a maximum capacity of 128 kilowatt hours. A very nice feature set is that with the Reserva Pro, again, we don't need any DC combiner boxes between the battery systems. So that means whenever you want to install a second or third or fourth tower, all you need to do basically is do your DC cabling from one battery to the other, and don't need any DC combiner boxes, no DC strings in between. So this is a very smooth system for installation. All you need to do is to confect your cables, make them ready, and then you can just click and connect them to each other. Let's talk a little bit about the installation of the battery system. So installation is pretty straightforward. You have one base unit. You can place that base unit on the floor next to a wall. Then you have these little feet on the base unit. You can adjust them in the height so that you make sure that the system is leveled. And then you can install from 3 until 8 battery modules on top of each other. They are just clicked in. So all you need to do is to place them over each other. There is no need to screw down anything or to make any clips or whatever. You just place them to each other and they fit perfectly. On the last battery module, you're then installing the battery management system. Within the BMS, you have the connection area, so the installation area, you have the main switch, and you have 2 status LEDs so that the Reserva Pro can tell you the actual status. Also, like with the battery modules, the BMS is just clicked on the top, so you're just placing the battery management system on the last module, and then you are fixed and finished. So there we have laid an eye on a very easy and straightforward installation process so that you don't need a lot of time for installing the battery system. As you can see, also within the battery management system, so within the top tower, we also have a wall mounting plate. So this wall mounting plate is then installed within the battery management system and can be placed to the concrete wall. This can be then screwed to the wall to make sure that the battery system can't tilt. As you can see, also this click procedure, it's very straightforward. You just take the module or the BMS at last, click them over each other. You also will get handles on every module and on the BMS so that you can easily lift the modules and place them over each other. For the connection area, this is pretty straightforward. So on the right top side, you will get your entry for the cabling. From there, you can go on with DC plus, DC minus. Please make sure to either use 6 square millimeters or 10 square millimeters. Within scope of delivery, you will get our MC4 Evo Store sockets. And with these plugs, you can install your battery system. MC4 Evo Store, these are superior plugs, especially for battery storage installation, meaning that they are tilted 90 degrees in angle. This should be a safety measurement so that you don't exchange PD strings with battery connection. And these are in scope of delivery. Only thing that you need to watch is there are 2 packages of the Evo Store sockets. And that means that you get 1 package for the 6 square millimeter cables and 1 package for the 10 square millimeter cables. And we also have written this down on the package, depending on the maximum amperage that you use. So mostly if you're installing Gen 24 Plus or Verto Plus, you will get a maximum amperage with Verto Plus, for example, of 50 amps, and with Gen 24 Plus of maximum 22 amps. So that means depending on the current that the system can draw, you need to either install 6 square millimeters or 10 square millimeters. In doubt, we always recommend to use higher diameter. So whenever possible, you can easily install 10 square millimeters. Please just use the correct cables and of course the correct plugs for that. On the connection area itself, you will then get an input and an output always. So always plus and minus input, plus and minus output. And as you can see, the second output, that is then being used for the parallel connection. So whenever you go into a second or third tower, you can use this output DC connection to just cable your cable from the first battery to the second to the third and so on. So no hassle within any DC combiner boxes or whatever. You're just placing your DC cables on the second output, and then you go on to the second system. Similar thing goes for the data communication. We have one port for the inverter communication that you can see here. So this is a little IP protection cap. This can be installed even over pre-configured Ethernet cables. So all you need to do is to place a fixed and finished Ethernet cable inside the port. Then you can put your IP protection cap over it, and then you are fixed and finished. Same thing goes for the parallel connection of multiple towers. You will always get a parallel in and parallel out, as they are called here. And there you can use two Ethernet cables for the Ethernet connection between the towers. So whenever you want to install multiple towers, for example, from the main unit, you are using the parallel out contact, going to the next battery to the parallel in contact, and from the second battery, again, from the out contact, you go to the next in contact of the next battery, and so on. We have then one functional grounding of the system that you can see here. So in scope of delivery, there is a little cable lock that you can directly screw to the BMU, and then you are fixed and finished. Last but not least, we have two cable locks on the sides here to protect the cable from harmness. And all you need to do afterwards is to place the cover of the battery management system on top, and then you are fixed and finished with the cabling of the system. For the inverter communication, we have on one hand side the Gen 24 Plus. This is pretty straightforward. Maybe you already know it. We have two DC plugs in the Gen 24 area where we have these black plugs called battery plus and battery minus. This is where you directly install the battery cable coming from the battery to the inverter. And on the other hand side, for the Verto Plus, we have two extra connections, battery plus, battery minus, on the right hand side of the inverter connection area, where you can place the battery plus and battery minus cable. Please notice also for the data communication with Verto Plus and the newer Gen 24 devices, this is pretty straightforward. With our new pilot cards, with our data communication cards within the inverters, we now have already an Ethernet socket. It is called battery. So in the easiest case, and also with Verto Plus, you just place a fixed and finished Ethernet cable coming from the battery to the inverter and place it to the battery connection area of the pilot. However, when you're installing an older Gen 24 device where we don't have this battery connector, you need to do it over the pin variant. This is not a big of a trouble. However, there are two things that you need to take in mind. So first of all, which cable you're using. As you maybe know, with the CAT cable, there are two different variants. There is the type T568A and B variant within the Ethernet cables. And that meaning that the color coding is different between A and B variant. So please watch very closely which cable you're using to use the correct color coding, because otherwise, of course, the communication will fail. So I have brought you here a little example for the Modbus communication between battery, Fronius smart meter and inverter. So in case you're installing an existing Gen 24 Plus, then you have the Fronius Reserva Pro with the contacts 1, 2, 8, and 7. And depending on the color coding of type A and B, you need to place them on the Modbus plug of the Gen 24 Plus. So this is our little orange Modbus plug. And of course, like with all the other batteries as well, you need to install Modbus plus 0, minus, ground, and the plus 12 volt. So these are the four contactors that you need for the battery connection. Please also don't forget to ground the shielding of this CAT cable. So on one hand side, perforable in the Gen 24 Plus, you will unmantle the shield of the CAT cable and then bring it to our shield contact so that there are no electromagnetic interferences on the cable side. Yeah, from then on, you can go on to the smart meter. So again, with the second Modbus port, Modbus plus minus ground, you can go on to the Fronius smart meter. And depending on the smart meter variant, you place these cables then on the correct pins of the smart meter. To switch on the battery system, on the left-hand side of the battery system, we have our DC main switch. So this is placed with a little cover. You can just come to the cover, put the battery to on, and make sure that the battery is then activated. On the front hand side, you have then two battery status indicators. One is for the actual status of the battery, and the other is for the connection for the data communication to the inverter. So that means as soon as you put on the battery, the LEDs will go live and will show you if there is a communication to the inverter and if the battery system is working or not. So about the commissioning process, this is very easily. This is the last thing that you need to do then. On the battery system itself, again, there is no commissioning required. So all you need to do is to cable your system, put on the DC switch. Again, please notice there is no need to have correct order of DC switching. So it doesn't matter if you switch on the inverter first or the battery system first. This is not true for Reserva Pro and Reserva. So you can just switch on the battery or the inverter first. This doesn't matter. After that, you go into the web interface of the inverter, and all you need to do there is to watch two things. First of all, the firmware version of the inverter, it must be at least 1.38 or higher. So if you have an already existing inverter, please check the firmware version of the inverter, maybe make an update so that the newest firmware version is installed. And if you have an already existing inverter with 1.38 or higher, you are already compatible with the Fronius Reserva Pro. Within the web interface, you then go with your technical password, you log into the system, and then you go to the components page. And there in the components page, you can just add in a new battery system. So you're just choosing, in this case, the Fronius battery, and then you are fixed and finished with the commissioning. So all you need to do basically is to click one shortcut with the Fronius battery to make sure that the inverter knows, okay, there is a battery system installed. And after that, it is a plug and play system, so no further needs for commissioning process or whatever. You just choose Fronius Reserva from the list, and then you are fixed and finished. Please note, after the installation process, make sure to watch the SolarWeb system, so online SolarWeb system, and make sure that the newest firmware version of the battery system is installed. For the operation of the system, you need a minimum battery firmware version of 1.1.5.11. So please watch this directly in SolarWeb. And whenever a firmware update is needed for the battery, this is being done directly online via SolarWeb. So there is also no need to go to the customer side. You can make this easily from your office. For example, you just log into the SolarWeb system of the customer, check the components page in SolarWeb, and then you can easily do the firmware update of the battery system from afar. So to sum this new product up, we have a focus group, of course, with the Reserva Pro about multifamily houses. So all systems where you have higher power, higher energy needs, like smaller business, like farmlands, and so on. So everywhere where you need high power, high capacity, Reserva Pro is the right battery for you. Again, we have a deeply integrated system from a single source, so no need to have third-party applications there. You can easily contact Fronius if you have ever problems. You can use our existing and finished tech support rules, of course. With our Fronius service and support, you already be aware of. This works very easily. Whenever you have a problem with the battery or inverter, you can just call our Fronius service and support. Again, we have built, of course, a DC coupled high voltage battery, and this is, of course, very vital for the maximum efficiency of the system. So that meaning minimal conversion losses with this system. Last but not least, we are very proud that we now had really made in Europe battery system, so that we are within our continent producing our own batteries. I think this is a very nice sign. And of course, as with all our products, we are following our European data security. So that means that all our servers are within the European Union. And that means that we cope with the strict data communication laws of Europe. You can always be sure with that we are not sending out data to the United States or to Asia. We always have only European data sources and European servers. With the Reserva Pro, we have now a very nice battery, especially when it comes to high charging, high power needs. Whenever you need lots of capacity and high power needs, the Reserva Pro will fit in your system. We are using again the lithium iron phosphate technology, so we have a safe and reliable cell chemistry that lasts a long period of time. And again, with our easy commissioning over the SolarStart app, you don't have to trouble about commissioning. Just plug and play this new feature. It's very convenient to install it and to commission the system. If you want to gain more knowledge, more in-depth knowledge about our new battery system, please feel free to search our YouTube channel. In the future, we will have further information about the new product, like the installation video. So we go into detail about how to install and how to commission the system. So we will have a step-to-step video for you available there, where you can watch the installation video before going to customer site and make your first installation. With the Fronius webinars and trainings, you will also get the Fronius storage and backup solution. So whenever you want to watch a training in depth, please feel free to use our online support and online services. Yeah, last question, last thing. When will we start with the Fronius Reserva Pro? So the product will be available at the wholesaler at the mid of March. So that means in mid of March, we will start the sales of the product. So please feel free to browse your wholesaler. I've already saw that lots of wholesalers have the product already in their web shops. So please get in contact with your wholesaler to order the Fronius Reserva Pro. And then you can already plan with the first systems, with the first customer systems. You can already plan from mid of March. Okay, guys. Then I would say thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time. I hope you will have lots of fun with our new Made in Europe battery. We are very proud of that we achieved such a system, and we hope you can use the new features with high power, high capacity at your customer systems. I wish you all the best with that. See you soon here at Fronius. Until the next time, I say goodbye. Take care. Bye-bye.